Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Helena.
And I'm Ben.
And I'm Jamie.
And for this episode, we're watching Starship Troopers.
We made it through the intro!
So, Jamie and Ben, you both sort of suggested this movie. I'd seen it once, like, ages ago on TV, because I think it was on Comedy Central. So I watched it at about
Wait,
10:30 at night with ad breaks, and I barely remember it. So that's my nostalgia for it.
So you started it at 10:30, finished it at about 3 in the morning?
Possibly,
break?
yeah. And every single ad break was for the same episode of Two and a Half Men and a Lee Evans stand-up comedy routine.
Yeah.
Sounds like you remember more about the adverts than the film.
Yeah, it's because I've watched the Lee Evans thing more.
I think that does touch on a very good point, though, is this film is a lot longer than I remember.
Yeah, it is.
It's 2 hours.
It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not awful. Like, it still went by pretty quickly. It didn't,
It
yeah, it did for me.
Okay.
I think it's because it feels like it's gonna end, and then there's like another a 20-minute sequence after that, and you're like, oh, okay.
No, it does. It does have that like constant ending feel. Also, it just felt it had a weird pacing to it. It had such an odd it had too much to focus on, and it kept jumping around characters, which makes sense because that was the point of it. But anyway,
Never saw it. Never heard of it. I think I'd confused it in my head with Super Troopers, which is a piss take, I think.
Ooh,
Yeah, Super Troopers is very
definitely
different.
not one to get mixed up. Very different experience.
So I
Yeah.
never watched it because I wasn't really interested in that.
my nostalgia for it. My friend really liked watching it, so whenever I went round his house, we watched it.
Ooh, that's a good way to put you off a movie.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I'm pretty sure I know why he was watching it.
Oh
I
no.
think I
Was it
worked
the
out why.
boobs?
Yes.
Oh.
Like,
Okay, he's not a
1000%,
Nazi. Okay.
Didn't wonder where that was
He's
going.
either a pervert or a fascist. So,
Or both.
They normally are both.
Yeah.
what about
Yeah.
you, Jamie?
So I do remember watching this in, I would say, secondary school, I think.
What?
Obviously didn't see it when it came out. I was a bit small at that point.
Yeah.
Well, when you say you saw it in secondary school, did they show it to you as like a class?
I
Yeah.
don't think they'd have got away with that, honestly. I think it was watching it outside of school, but while I was in secondary school.
All right, okay.
Because I vaguely remember being aware of the sequels before the original film. Not having actually seen the sequels, but just being aware of them because they were coming out around the same time, like 2004, 2008, I think. And they were like the direct-to-TV, not very good, or rather worse films.
That might be why I never bothered watching them, because I heard more about the sequels than the original.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember watching a TV show though, but I couldn't find anything out about it afterwards. Like when
I
I tried to look it up for this.
I
Yeah.
definitely remember watching the second one and then being really, really disappointed because I loved the first one and I probably watched it when I was about 12, and then the second one was just terrible. But
Yeah, I definitely do remember seeing this originally and thinking it was just a silly action movie though, and it was only when I watched it again a little bit later on that, you start picking up that maybe there is a little bit more to it, even if it is
Yeah.
still a silly action film on the surface.
I think that's why it's
Yeah.
brilliant because it kind of is both. You can watch it and just really enjoy it for just a really fun action movie. But as you say, yeah, there's those underlining like themes that the director very much was going for.
Yeah, well, that was like the problem at the time is when this film came out, the critical reaction to it was it's a shit action movie, don't go and see it. And it took about 10 years before people sort of realized that actually no, it's a relatively nuanced take on militaristic fascism,
Yeah.
which is so
Yeah.
weird that no one picked up on it at the time.
It's so
What
obvious.
was-
I found it
But was
interesting that
Jeff
some
fascist?
people, yeah, some
Hold
people
on.
did pick up on that side of things, but they didn't recognize it as satire. Like even some of the actors working on the film were saying, "Why are we making a film that's glorifying fascism?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's only more recently when people are re-examining the film as a work of satire instead of just taking it at face value that's been like public opinion on that has shifted a bit.
But it's mad
Yeah.
because that's sort of his signature move, really, isn't it? The director.
Parody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he
yeah.
did RoboCop, didn't he? So
Yeah.
He has a history of fascism because he grew up in Nazi-occupied Netherlands.
I think saying he has a history of fascism
Well,
is
no,
probably
he
the wrong
has-
way of wording that.
I think that's also
History
known
with-
as libel.
He has a history with
Or was it
fascism.
slander? I never remember which one's which.
He has a history with fascism, which is why it's in like all of his movies.
Yeah.
It's like hyper-militaristic fascism. Also, very important to note, the director never read the book big fan of that. Hated
Yeah,
the
Very
he
book.
few
was,
chapters,
he was
didn't he?
pretty upfront about that. He read 2 chapters of it and thought it was boring and
Called it
disappointing.
he called it the worst thing he'd ever read.
So he got the script writer to explain like a Cliff Notes version of it to him, and then directed the film on that basis.
Yes, he called it boring and bad. Those were his words.
I
Love
can
it.
kind of see
so
where
much.
he's coming from. I have read the book. It's certainly not one of my favorite pieces of sci-fi.
The tone is vastly different in this film to the book
Yeah,
because
well,
of
the
the
book-
satire. And the book's not satire.
No, the book takes
No.
itself very seriously from what
No,
I've
it most
read.
certainly is not satirical. The thing that always shocked me about this film was the fact that Heinemann's estate sold them the rights in the first place. I do not understand how they got permission to use the source material that way. He would have been rolling in his grave if he'd ever seen the '97 film.
Good. No,
$1
they probably
bills, maybe.
yeah, or they probably never saw the film or read anything about it. They would say, yeah, sure, have it. They probably just gave the rights away without actually knowing what it was about, or they lied to the estate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very glad it shook out that way, but I just find it really funny as well.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you can tell like the writer would not have been
Yeah.
happy with this.
No,
Yeah.
and it's perfect. Best way to make those kinds of films.
Verhoeven just seems to hold
Yeah.
the original book in complete contempt.
Yeah.
which-
I mean, rightly so in some
Yeah,
ways, in some people's
100%
opinions.
on his side. I respect anyone that reads a couple chapters of a book, goes, no, it's bad, I'm going to make a film completely parodying it. So we've got 2 hours of story together.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it
no,
start.
we've
It's,
No.
got about 20 minutes of
Yeah.
story.
I would say,
together.
yeah, it's pretty simple. You follow Johnny Rike, and a
Who
few of his
was-
classmates as they join into the military and fight a load of bugs. And
From
Yeah,
school.
you know,
These
Johnny,
are
Johnny
17 and
Rico,
18-year-olds.
that
Yeah.
blonde-haired, blue-eyed white male who lives in Argentina who joins the military
yeah.
of an authoritarian state.
Also, classic like teen drama. Although playing 17-year-olds, they all look about 26.
Yeah.
Child labor laws really hit hard in the 90s. Really hit cinema hard in the 90s.
Well, I think one of the reasons obviously is the acting skill and also that just reluctance to have teenagers played by actual teenagers. But
Child
there
labour
are
laws.
teenagers later on in the film, aren't there? Because the soldiers get younger and younger as the war progresses and more of them die. And I
Yeah.
think
But
it's
is-
probably easier and a slightly more believable or slightly subtler anyway to start with slightly older looking teenagers and ending up with children rather than starting with like proper baby faces and ending up with, I don't know, fetuses.
Yeah. Just a
A toddler with a
Toddler with a gun
Bubble
fighting
gun,
a bug.
Yeah,
giant
I
bug.
do think that is a really good point though, because one of the things that the film does pretty well and quite subtly, I think, is showing how war just chews through generations of people.
Yeah.
Like from the very beginning, there's the older generation, like the people that are citizens that have served federal service in the past.
Yeah.
Without fail, all of the veterans are shown as being like disfigured and mangled and crippled.
Yeah.
Like his teacher is missing an arm. The recruiting sergeant has no legs and cybernetics. The biology teacher that's overseeing the dissections is blind from what looks like acid scarring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's very like visually upfront that these people that have done their federal service have been absolutely chewed up by it.
Yeah.
But the kids are still determined.
Well, also,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Well, a couple are.
in that world, in the Starship Trooper world, you're not allowed to vote if you're not in the military.
Yeah, it's like
Well,
You have to be a
to.
citizen, and one of the
Yeah.
ways you can
Yeah.
become a citizen is through
Easiest
2 years
way.
of service.
I think that's the
Yeah.
only way you can become a citizen is through the army, isn't it? Through the Federation.
Yeah, you have
So
to.
this is the funny thing is Heinemann, when he wrote the book, like that, it's pretty explicit that you can only be a citizen through federal service, and it's very strongly implied that federal service is military service. And people started accusing him of writing like a fascist utopia and like a glorification of militarism. So 15 years later, he wrote the Starship Troopers expanded universe,
Mhm.
and he went back and clarified that 95% of federal service is not military service. So this is very kind of like J.K. Rowling going back and retroactively changing things to suit.
Just never
like
came
Chris
Well,
says.
I suppose like when you
It
think
just
about
never came
federal
up.
services as well, like
Civil servants, that kind
civil
of stuff.
servants, it's the same in like in England. Like you can work for the government, which is
And-
the same as we don't have a federation, so
I suppose,
Yeah.
yeah, with national service, you could join, police, ambulance services, those kind of things as well. Fire service, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Carmen becomes
I
a
mean,
pilot.
yeah.
So yeah, it's more than just ground Troopers, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's-
No, but it's still like the only form you see in the film is
Yeah.
military.
Yeah, it's military.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
Because that's what the writer meant. Let's not
Oh,
Yeah.
let's not fall into that. It's not Rico was wearing skates the entire time. It just never was never important to the story.
Yeah, I did think it was funny as well, the civics class that they make you sit through. Like, it's very good for the world building of the film. And I'm very glad that it wasn't a faithful adaptation of the book either, because the book is basically a few kind of stilting and fairly boring action scenes, which purely exist to string together the extended civics lessons, which are just long, meandering rants about political philosophy.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing that I found about all of that is the reason for why the Federation exists in the first place. So, like, Rico's teacher is talking about how the democracies of the past failed because of like the experimentation of the social scientists and stuff. When Heinlein was writing the book, he said that the reason that the societies fell, like leading to the rise of the Federation, was because delinquent youths
Yeah.
like rose up and were just out of control. And the reason for these delinquent youths was because the social scientists outlawed spanking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Someone been
sounds
reading a
about
bit of
right.
Clockwork Orange or something.
Yeah, and like the funniest thing reading this, like when we live now, is the delinquent youths that he was talking about when he was writing in the 50s, having like lived through the wars and everything. Those were the baby boomers, those delinquent youths that he
Yeah.
was criticizing.
Yeah.
I mean, was he wrong? Have they not ruined the war?
yeah. Maybe we should bring that back.
It's not running
What,
about house prices in London, isn't
Spanking
it?
baby boomers.
Exclusively baby boomers. No other
Yeah.
generation.
So Rico goes to space in his like the short civics lesson of propaganda.
He wants to sign up for his 2 years of service. His parents don't want him to because he'll
Yeah.
die.
Yeah,
They're not
because
citizens either.
in the
Yeah.
military. The way that you're given your role in the military, I assume you take a load of tests because they seem to be handed out what role they are.
Well, that's what they do. They do like
Yeah.
aptitude tests.
Yeah,
don't
aptitude
they?
test, and you sort of apply for what you want, but then you
You get given.
Based on your
get given based
yeah,
on what you're good at as well.
tests and stuff.
Yeah, like Neil Patrick Harris gets, which again.
Yeah,
Neil
that was a
Patrick
bit like
Harris
a,
is in
oh,
this.
hello.
Yep.
Young Neil Patrick Harris is in this. And again, what's amazing is Neil Patrick Harris is a genuinely great actor, and his acting in this is so shit. Which means
Yeah.
that they told
It's
him to
really
be
wooden,
shit.
isn't it?
Yeah, he's
They
trying to do the
told
sort
him.
of weird, sort of mysterious emo psychic kid.
Yeah, I think he was told
So
to be
I've
bad.
I've seen a really interesting fan theory about the casting for this film.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I've seen this idea that on a meta level, the film is actually an in-universe propaganda film, and Verhoeven intentionally cast bad actors or people that didn't have much acting experience to make the characters, their delivery as wooden as possible, to show that they were kind of like shallow caricatures of people.
I think he told them to do it. I think he told them to have
Yeah.
actors. Because Neil Patrick Harris, he isn't a new actor in this. He's done stuff before, and he's a good actor.
He was a child actor. He was a small doctor on TV for a
He
while.
was a doctor. The man was a doctor.
Yeah, I still choose to believe that the character Barney from How I Met Your Mother, this is the same character, and the empath skills, the psychic ability is how he scams people into liking him in that show.
The empath ability that comes up like once, maybe
Yeah.
twice.
Twice, yeah, I can think of
Twice,
one-
yeah.
When
Yeah,
once
you're supposed to
when
be able to
he's,
like do tests to see if you can read someone's mind, what card they're thinking of.
Yeah,
yeah,
it felt very Ghostbusters to me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Like
it's like an old-
the test that they're doing at the beginning of the film, isn't it? Like the EST test.
yeah, just like an old psychic test. Yeah, it's dumb, but it's weird that no one else. There's no other magical powers or supernatural powers that come up. It's just that.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange in the way that it's just sort of accepted as like, oh yeah, you might be psychic, by the way.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
you know? Like it's a thing that we all acknowledge is real now.
It's like
Because obviously at the
psychic-
moment and back then as well, it was very much. I don't want to offend anyone here, but if you believe in psychic powers at the moment,
No, it's not real. No,
yeah, it's
I'll
not-
cop that.
Yeah, it's
Not real.
that's true.
It's weird that that's the one ability.
Yeah.
that you have. There's no like, oh, that person has super strength for some reason. No, you can empathy.
You know, you can send instructions to ferrets.
I mean, that's pretty useful.
Well, he didn't send the instruction to the ferret. It was really weird during that bit when he said, "No, I made him think that there was probably going to be
A grub
like-"
crawling up his mum's leg. Yeah.
and it was kind of like, so did he emotionally tell the ferret that how do you put that emotion? What is that emotion? Is it
Hmm.
hunger?
Guess.
specific leg grub hunger.
It's so weird, and it's weird that it's never described. And like, is he the only one? Is it a unique ability? And then he touched a bug at the end and went, "Is scared."
Yeah, I felt like that was such a letdown for the use of the psychic powers because, like, no shit, the bug's scared.
Well,
Yeah.
he used his psychic powers to tell Johnny Rico that Carmen was still alive as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
true.
prefer to believe that he's not actually psychic at all, and he's just a grifter who trains ferrets.
Admittedly, you didn't have to have psychic powers to know that that bug was scared.
No,
Yeah.
definitely
hard.
not.
But before we get to that bug, there are a lot of other bugs to get to. So the
There are a
world
lot.
of this thing is the human race, mainly blue-eyed, blonde-haired Americans, mostly Aryans, have decided that this bug race is evil and needs to be exterminated. Which I love that they never bring up that the humans are the one invading.
Oh, they sort of do.
No.
They do say that Mormon extremists got wiped out by trying to settle on one of the bug's worlds, but
Yeah.
this is very quickly glossed over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
no,
say
I
that
like-
there's like theories that maybe the bugs are only attacking because of the humans going there in the first place, and it's like just a one line that's then gone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like-
I
like
have
propaganda.
I have a slight theory about that as well, and maybe it's primed by when I first watched this, which was like after the Iraq War had kicked off and there was the whole war on terror, and like everyone was saying false flag and stuff like that. When they're doing the info dump at the beginning with all the little adverts about what's happening and what the bugs are and where they are and all that kind of stuff, they show like a clip of the galaxy, and Earth and Clandefu are on like the opposite sides of the galaxy. They're about as far as away from each other as they could possibly be, and they talk about how the asteroids get chucked out of the system.
Yes, I was
And
a
it's
big fan of that.
The bugs using bug plasma. But the thing is, as far as I can make out, that's not a faster than light drive in the same way that the humans have like this S drive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means it would take thousands, if not millions of years for an
Well-
asteroid to get from bug territory to Earth.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, the Milky Way is 100,000 light years across, isn't it? So
Yeah,
just
yeah. I
an
mean, it's
idea of
like
how
it's-
long it would take.
the bugs aren't going to be launching asteroids in response to something that happened very recently. I
Yeah,
guess.
that
Yeah,
that reminds me of. So the one thing that I was surprised didn't come up as a plot point in this, which I thought was going to, was when Buenos Aires is attacked. I thought that they were eventually going to find out that that was actually humans doing it to then be like, okay, now we can go and attack the bugs
Like
even more.
justification for the
Yeah,
war.
like it
I
was
think
a setup job.
Yeah.
Although one
But
thing
I-
I did find slightly strange about the attack there is like Rico's teacher, who also lives in that city, appears later on as a lieutenant in the military
Yeah, exactly. He's
In
in
absolutely fine.
response to the asteroid attack. But why wasn't he there at the time? Why wasn't he killed?
Maybe he was on
That's-
holiday.
Yeah, that's another reason why I thought that maybe it was an inside job.
It's
Yeah,
not-
it makes it seem like all of the useful citizens were kind of like evacuated out beforehand, and then
yeah.
The
Isn't I thought
non-citizens left
I
to
thought that
perish.
was the point. I thought that was the point of all. I thought this film it was just it was a parody of a propaganda film.
Yeah,
Mm.
So yeah,
yeah.
they would never discover that it was.
Yeah, good point.
humans
They
who
they
did
wouldn't
it.
discover it, but
But
you can
that-
kind
yeah,
of
like
figure it out.
there's
Point.
lots of kind of hints.
There's a
Where
lot
if
of.
you-
I mean, there's
Well-
no reason to. I know we're saying that they don't have light speed, or faster than light speed, but they do have big bug butts that can take down massive ships that are miles and miles and miles in the air.
Yeah. But on the side of like understanding how propaganda works, which like the director understands how propaganda works, he lived it. You present an enemy of being this like ultra powerful monster,
Yeah.
that is constantly attacking you, but also incredibly easy to defeat. That's kind of like the core of how you do propaganda during war.
Yeah, so exactly, because within that there's a clip, isn't there? The in movie
Oh, the talking
infomercial
heads.
where not just that, where they destroy an asteroid that's on its way to Earth with one of the moon defenses,
Yeah,
and they just show how easy it is to knock out. And then obviously the next scene is, Buenos Aires has been wiped off the
destroyed by
map.
an asteroid.
So
Yeah,
And you constantly get that juxtaposition where you've got like the Sky Marshal and lots of other people saying like it's us or the bugs, this is a war to determine who gets to control the galaxy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, while the bugs are being built up as this existential threat, you've also got the talking heads on like the Fox News style like discussion segment in one of those newsreels, where one of the experts is trying to talk about how the bugs might actually be intelligent and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And the other one is like, I find the idea of an intelligent bug absolutely offensive.
Offensive, yeah.
So it's like they're saying that they're this massive threat that's going to wipe out humanity as we know it, but also they're just dumb bugs.
There's that very brief statement as well that how about we like live and let live, stop attacking
Yeah.
them, they'll stop attacking us. and that
Yeah.
is very quickly like just not spoken of again. And
I think in universe, I think Earth is being pelted by meteorites and asteroids, and they needed something to blame the asteroids on because they can't stop the asteroids. So if they say, well, if we kill this alien species, the asteroids and meteorites will stop hitting us. So then they have an excuse to start a war and also have an excuse to not deal with a problem. I think that's it. And they're just like, whenever something gets hit on Earth, they go, it's bugs again. And the bugs firing. It's plasma.
Yeah.
Bug
Yeah,
juice.
I think the two people that are arguing on the talk show bit, the expert does actually raise an interesting bit of world building though, and that's about how the bugs spread on new colonies and stuff like that. So like she says that they shoot the rocks out into space, and it's got I think she called it spore, so like eggs in it.
Yeah.
And they just crash those rocks into other planets, and then the eggs turn into bugs. And after like 300 generations, they spontaneously develop intelligence. So I guess that's when the brain bugs start growing. And I think that would explain the rocks, because it means that the rocks were just flung out randomly into the universe, maybe hundreds or even thousands of years ago. And that's just how the bugs spread through space. So there was no malice intended. It's just that's how they colonized.
they've just all started pinging and getting their brain bugs around the same time. The ones that made it towards Earth.
Yeah, I think it's a really good propaganda film.
Yeah.
But story-wise, it's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like particularly hard to follow.
No, but it was just kind of like it was a lot of nonsense and just stuff you're meant to shrug off and believe. Like the fact that one of the characters died and then was brought back to life.
Yeah, well, he's brought back to life by like green goo.
Yeah, I don't think he properly died.
No, that was just like a bureaucratic fuck up when they thought he was dead, but that was because it was misrecorded.
I don't think it was misrecorded, and my brain probably did a lot of world building that wasn't intentional. I think what they're doing, and I think it's really clever, like militaristic fascist world, is when someone dies, you announce that they're dead publicly, bring them back to life, and then no one has to worry if they die again. You have a much bigger army if, like, every time someone dies, you tell the world that they're dead, and you can keep the propaganda machine going by saying, look, these bugs killed like 3,000 people.
300,000.
Yeah,
300,000 the first hour.
Yeah, and then you go like, aren't they awful? Aren't they terrible? And then you just bring all those people back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't bring back all those people though. They bring back some of them, and I
know.
think he had like the injuries that were healable because it was obviously his leg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
unlike
blood loss.
all the people that are absolutely fucking mutilated,
Yeah.
mainly by bugs that only attack with like melee range. So again, if these people never went down onto the planet in the first place, they wouldn't be dead.
They have the bugs that shoot rocks out their asses.
Yeah, but if the spaceships didn't go near them in the first place, they wouldn't get attacked.
Now,
Yeah, well, that was the fuck up of the first one, wasn't it? Where they were like, instead of what they should have done was clear it and then send them in later to like send them mobile infantry in to like clean up.
Yeah.
Which is just kill off the stragglers.
I did find that entire battle really funny though, just the whole way through. Like when they're told that they're going in as the first wave, I immediately started thinking, wait a minute, these are teenagers straight out of boot camp, but they're going in on the first wave of this massive battle.
Yeah, they're
It's
kind
like,
of
what is this? Like, Saved by the Bell meets the fucking Somme? I mean,
Yeah.
That's exactly what this film is.
Yeah.
It's 100% what this film is.
And you know that it was probably that other kid, their friend, who might have made that calculated decision.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, they're
another
meant
thing
to
about
be.
that fight, which I thought was really funny, is right at the end when the signal is given for them to retreat and go to the extraction point and stuff, and Rico gets caught in the open and stabbed up by a bug. Like they're using these assault rifles, which don't really seem to be doing a lot of work. And when Rico gets cut off and he's on his own, he swaps to the underslung shotgun on his rifle.
Yeah,
And
kills it
just
instantly.
starts going to fucking town. I'm like, guys, why weren't you using these things from the get go?
Yeah. So to get to that point, Rico goes through a lot of trauma.
A lot of training and
And a
gets
lot
a
of
kid
trauma.
killed. Yeah.
A lot of trauma. He gets a guy
I was
killed.
not expecting that. That really did catch me off guard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was surprising. That
So
felt...
he's finally he's sort of promoted quite quickly to be
Yeah.
like, is it like
Squad
drill
leader,
squad
officer?
leader.
And it's their first time with
yeah.
live ammunition, and this guy takes his helmet off because there's a problem with it, and he tells him, let me have a look at your helmet. The guy takes
Yeah.
off his helmet, someone trips with their gun firing, blows his head off.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like during that particular part of the film, they were getting ready to go running down this training exercise thing, and the dummies were shooting like taser bolts at them, and people like falling over and spasming and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten what had happened in this part of the film, and I was like partway through writing a note saying it seems like a really bad idea to tase people with live ammunition. And
It
then
does.
that guy had his head blown off.
Yeah, he quits, and then they punish him by whipping him, which is a weird scene.
Yeah, that is very
Well,
odd.
it's corporal punishment. It's what those baby boomers need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of like actually something they sort of mention a lot throughout the film, is that corporal punishment is a big thing in the society. So there's that infomercial with the guy who's
The murderer.
the murderer who's sentenced to death, and you can watch it, which is
Watch his
really-
execution live
Yeah,
on TV.
what makes
Yeah.
that even more subtly unnerving is the fact that he's caught in the morning, he is sentenced in the afternoon, and he is executed in the evening.
yeah.
It's like these are real like kangaroo courts, and that's
Yeah.
like a theme that runs the whole way through the film. Is that it presents itself as this like cheery, shiny, like fascist utopia, but the whole way through there's just this absolutely callous disregard for human life. Like human life has such little value to the Citizens Federation.
Yeah, and the people in charge, because you get the fucking amazing bit where it's like 300,000 people have died. They only tell the public that 100,000 people have died or something, and then it's like the guy in charge of the Federation has resigned. Now someone else is in charge. Like, 300,000 people died. This guy has just lost his job and moved on with his life.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like the one thing that the Federation isn't is sexist. For the most
it's
part.
every man and woman are very much equal.
Which is also very different from the book, and something that Heinlein would probably hate.
Yeah.
I really liked the so there's this scene at the start where they're all in the shower. I think Mikey, your mate, probably enjoyed this scene as well.
Oh, the famous
shower scene.
co-ed
The
shower
shower
scene
scene.
on the
Yeah.
boot camp.
Yeah, and they're all talking about why they joined up, and I think it's that I really enjoyed as a way of like building a bit of world building
Personality.
without it having to be a class.
It was a lot of personality in that. It was the
Yeah.
only time you learn about any of the characters.
Exactly.
outside
and
of the main ones.
that scene really did like layer on the dystopian aspects of the society
Yeah, it was like,
as well.
I
someone
want to have
who
babies.
Yeah,
so this is how
yeah,
you get
like-
a license.
joined for
Yeah.
that army to fight a horrifying like alien force just so you can have babies one day. It's just
Well,
ugh.
It wasn't even. It was like, I want to have babies, and being a citizen is the easiest way to get a license.
Yeah.
What? And so that was like a series of terrible things in one.
But it's also
sentence.
such a teenage idea as well. Like, when you're a teenager, you're sort of when you feel invincible because
Yeah.
Not enough bad shit has happened to you, and not enough of your friends have died for you to realize, oh yeah, actually you're just a meat sack. But that idea of like, oh okay, yeah, no, I can just promise to kill and die for my country, and then I can have a kid later, and that's what I
Yeah,
want. So
sure.
why wouldn't I do that rather than work or try and do something else?
Yeah,
Go to
I-
Harvard. Like, there's still universities and stuff. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
people have good lives without being citizens.
I
Yeah,
think
I think one of the motivations during that scene that made me the most sad was the guy that said that he was doing it just so the Federation would pay for his university
Yeah.
attendance. And the reason that made me sad is because we're watching this film, which is about this like authoritarian, extremely militarized, xenophobic, fascist state,
yeah.
and that's a very real motivation that many people join, particularly the US military, for today, because they
Well-
have those programs to pay people for university and stuff.
Well, what's like really depressing about that scene is all of them are like real reasons people join the military. None of those are like that weird.
Yeah.
To-
I mean, even
for-
though it's
for
not
joining
getting a
the
license to have a
military.
baby, it's a good career and hopefully save some money and
All
meet
of those-
someone and then settle down out of the
But yeah, because
the
in the
army.
US, if you're in the army, you get housing benefits, you get extra pay if you're married, have kids, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Also,
it's more affordable.
Yeah, that's like the most depressing part about that scene. Is they're all very realistic reasons for
Yeah,
joining the
it's almost
military.
it's one of those situations similar to like what people say about or what Margaret Atwood says about her own work is like she's never really made anything up in things like The Handmaid's Tale. Like all the things that have happened in that book have happened somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
well,
not all in one go exactly how she writes it. And it's the same in this one. Like, yeah, that reason, obviously, giant bugs and space travel aside.
no, that's actually happening.
Yeah.
Didn't you know?
Yeah.
That was the most realistic part about that scene.
With
So, just to lighten the tone quickly, do you want to know a fun bit of trivia about that scene?
oh
Is
yeah,
it
I
the
know this
director?
bit. Yeah.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to say this bit as well.
Okay, fine. You guys can lead.
No,
really.
no. You jumped in.
Imagine
Please, carry on.
if we all had different things about this scene.
Yeah. Well, apparently the actors and actresses were all really uncomfortable with the idea of doing like a naked co-ed scene, and eventually they came to the agreement that they'd only do it if Paul Verhoeven was also nude while they were filming it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So as the director, he was also stood naked just off screen.
As well as the
camera guy as well, I think.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That carrying camera equipment whilst naked is a dangerous.
it
What-
might,
what-
it might
A
have,
lot of
might have
cable.
been the cinematographer.
It was the cinematographer.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Apparently, he found it particularly easy because he was raised in a nudist
Yeah.
colony. So
Yeah. That I wanted to
Probably
bring
wondering
up.
what these kids are making a fuss about.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
The other thing with the shower scene
They didn't have
is-
to ask him. He wasn't meant to be naked.
It just was.
He was
Yeah.
like, no,
Maybe he gave them the idea.
It's
Yeah,
them and
like they
only
just
me.
had to keep telling him to put his clothes on during shooting.
He's in
He
the
had
middle of
no
the desert,
idea.
completely naked.
He went in, no idea the rest of them were naked that day.
Yeah.
Well, it's my lucky day.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
With the it's sort of related to something that I've brought up sort of in a previous episode before as well, but Paul Verhoeven also said, like, he was asked about the shower scene, and he said something that I always find interesting, which is like it's harder to get like nudity through censors than like horrific violence and gore. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if a film's rated like a 15, it can have so much gore and stuff in it, and then there'll be like one boob and it's like, oh, that's an 18 now. Like, I always find that really weird.
Yeah, especially if it's a boob in the context of like a shower. I know
Yeah.
there's a sex scene later, but I mean the sex scene is
The sex scene is
Very
way more
PG.
like PG than than them in the shower. It's
Yeah.
weird.
I will say in the sex scene though, there is a surprising amount of nipple being licked.
that. Yep, that was a comment I noticed that as well.
But also, the whole nudity against violence is the Hays Code,
Yeah.
which I've been through
Oh,
a lot.
Mikey's favorite topic. Here we go again, guys.
It's the Hays.
Tackle
No,
it.
no, I'm not gonna
Okay.
talk about it. But it's the Hays
Safe.
Code.
No one bring it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that-
so I wasn't expecting there to be this. I know it sounds dumb, but I was kind of expecting a little bit less gore. Because it feels quite clean at the start,
Yeah, no,
and then the first like the broken arm scene where that psychotic drill
Oh, the drill
sergeant
sergeant.
breaks
Yeah.
this guy's arm on the first day.
yeah,
Really like gave me the
Yeah.
heebie-jeebies. But that was gross. But obviously you don't see anything. Just that obviously his arm's clearly broken, and yeah, like you can see the blood pouring out. But the knife scene later where he gets this guy to put his arm up against the back of like one of their big metal
against the wall.
tubs. He like throws the knife at it and stabs him through the hand. But it is so clearly a fake hand. Like considering all the other like how much they spent on all the other effects and the CG as well as obviously all the practical effects. Yeah, that's a terrible fake hand.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
It's like
twice as
three.
big as his
Yeah,
actual
it
hand.
was
It's
like they
great.
replaced it with 5 Richmond sausages
Yeah, yeah.
and
I,
some
I will
ketchup.
say though that generally speaking, the effects in the rest of the film have held up surprisingly
Yeah,
well.
the
I
CG
The
was real
bugs
good.
were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bugs were
I
great.
when I went to go and rewatch this, I really thought that it was going to be shockingly shitty CGI, and I was going to
Wait,
have a
have you
laugh
been
at
scarred by something?
So I read part of that is because some of the bugs on screen were actually like animatronic.
They were actual
Yeah.
bugs. No, they
so
were
that-
actual giant bugs.
Yeah,
they
this
seem to
is a
plan that through,
documentary.
and,
Yeah.
but as well, I noticed I think some of the spaceships they're also miniatures, and I think
Mhm.
miniature work. I mean, look at Star Wars. I think that kind of special effects just holds up for longer as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really liked the ship designs in this as well. They were all really cool. That was just something I was
They
like,
seem
oh,
to have
they're
some
nice.
pretty obvious breakable parts.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, like on that point, I will say that Carmen really likes breaking her ships.
Yeah,
Mm.
she's also really fucking lucky because there's that bit where she's on the ship and it gets hit by the bug's ass blast. And, like, there's a huge fireball and she's just got the smallest scratch on the side of her face. And I'm like, wow, I was expecting her to be, like, horrifically scarred.
You're
And
missing
considering
my...
the captain gets like fucking cut in half,
Yeah.
like during the evac.
Yeah.
I mean, that's brutal.
I think my favorite scene about the ships is just a small thing when they're in training and she replots a course because it wasn't optimal. And she's like, my course is optimal. I don't know why this stuck in my head so much. It's such a non-part of the film. But then the guy goes to the computer and it says course optimal.
Yeah.
What did it say before, my dude?
Yeah.
Why did you think your course
It's
was
a course,
fine before?
that'll do.
Yeah. Course
then
not optimal. And he went,
Don't,
nah,
don't they end up going through an asteroid field or
Yeah,
something?
like she
So
puts them in direct course for an asteroid that
yeah.
was shot at them, fired at them deliberately by the bugs.
So while we're talking about that flight crew as well, can we just take a moment to discuss Xander, who is the trainee instructor who Carmen is working with?
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest.
As kind of like kind of possible love interest. The thing that weirded me out about him first is you first see him at the very beginning of the film when he's playing like Spaceball or whatever the fuck it is against Rico.
It was like mini American football.
Yeah.
Less pads, more gymnastics.
And like he was the sweatiest, greasiest person I've ever seen in my life.
It was pretty rank looking.
Wait, no, he was the dude that was like, "Don't talk to my girlfriend," right? Was that?
No, he was the other dude.
No, he was the one that was talking to the "Don't talk to my girlfriend" dude.
It was that scene. Yeah, no, he was like the most greasy human I've ever seen.
Yeah. However, the thing that I don't understand about that is apparently he has just been playing high school football with a load of teenagers.
Yeah.
However, when you see him next and he is on the spaceship, he's already a instructor.
Yeah.
He does mention that he already works for the Federation at that game though. So I don't know what he's doing. It's weirder to see him at the football match than at the.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't work out. So
maybe was it like a varsity, like university thing, and they were, I don't know, giving the youngins a go.
Maybe the Feds have a football team.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and just,
I don't know.
They were all based in Buenos Aires, and thought, well, let's play the local high school.
Yeah, I mean, either it's like pool hustling, where he's much older than they are, and like all the professional soldiers were just going down to crush a load of high school students, and then lost anyway.
Sad.
Or
it was a recruitment tactic.
Yeah, or he signed up only like marginally before Carmen did, and somehow is already an instructor. I don't know. It just seems a bit weird.
He got assigned. He did his aptitude test. His aptitude test said he's an instructor.
Well, he was probably he was probably just signed up not too long before. There was an instructor that was teaching him, and then he died. He was eaten by bugs 10 minutes after training him for 10 minutes, and then he was promoted to instructor because that's how
maybe
everything
he did something
works in
kind of cool.
Yeah,
but totally a fluke, and then he got promoted.
Because the only reason you see people get promoted in this movie is because the person above them has died horrifically, and they don't think, maybe I shouldn't take this job. I'll die horrifically. They're just like, I'll go for it.
They do kind of think that though. He's like, I'll do it until I die, or you find someone better at it than me.
Yeah, we only ever see one person turn down a field promotion, and that's the guy that plays the plastic violin.
Yeah, I love
that was a weird choice for like.
I wanted that guy to survive and win. I wanted that man to prosper.
Yeah, he sort of plays this kind of. He starts off as a bit of like a knucklehead bully kind of character that then very quickly becomes very goofy and friendly. And plays the violin,
which is weird because isn't he the one that got the knife through the hand?
Yeah. Also, specifically, it's the space violin because it's made of see-through plastic.
No, and you can buy those.
Did you hear it?
Those exist.
It's like electric as well, kind of like electric guitar. I had that.
That's a good point. Actually, it was the most deep-fried bullshit I'd ever heard.
Yeah,
you can get electric violins.
You can get electric violins. They look like violins that have been on a diet.
Yeah, they look exactly like that. It's just a plastic violin.
Actually, kind of going back to him being a bully, did you notice the drill sergeant was standing behind the group at the lunch hall as he was being like a twat? Like he was clearly, that kind of mentality is almost like encouraged just to see how people act and react.
It's like the pecking order, isn't it? It's putting all the head and head together, let them work it out.
Yeah, and then one guy starts playing violin. There is no reason for him to play violin, and I love it.
And it's weird that not only does he play violin, but then when they get all the the entertainment box that comes to their camp later after they've had the first big battle.
It's got a violin in there.
It's got a violin in it.
Well, we don't know what other instruments it also has. It's just he was the only one that could play violin.
I think space violin must just be a very common vocation in the future.
I suppose it's smaller than a guitar.
Yeah, they don't take as much room as space drum kit.
It would have been great if they gave him a drum kit, though, if that was his instrument.
Just to circle back to an earlier point very, very quickly, I've just remembered something about Spaceball. When you're playing, apparently gravity doesn't affect you very much.
No, because you can do insane backflips and shit.
The number of times that Rico does a crazy forward flip over another player is just nuts. And then he does the same thing again during a training exercise later on in the film.
And then he never does it over a bug.
Well, no, that's his magic power. So you have an empathy power, and you have magical acrobatics,
and then you have good at flying planes.
Yep, you can fly. Third power can fly, but not levitate like a ship. You can fly fly.
Yeah, like
dragons
Carmen's
ships.
superpower is mental quick math.
Finding optimal path when computer then tells you that it's.
And then some people's superpower is actually surviving a tiny bit longer and being able to get a proper funeral, which is the other girl who was at school with them and then is in the infantry with Johnny.
Yeah, a lot of
I
people
felt bad
die.
for her.
A lot of people die.
Yeah,
in this
she was a
film.
really good character, actually. Like,
It was frustrating that she died with similar injuries to Rico or Johnny, who survived.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the characters, the character deaths in this feel really out of place whenever they happen.
Yeah.
They feel like they happen for no damn reason. It's so bizarre, and then it tries to get, and then the film like gives it the weight of importance, but just almost immediately forgets about them.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
But I think that's also part of the satirical propaganda kind of thing of like, you know,
will.
people have died, we move on, we keep fighting these bugs.
You be sad for a bit, you move
Yeah.
on, and then you fight like 1,000 bugs.
Life is
Like-
cheap in the Federation.
Yeah.
Like
But
a
it's really
m-
interesting though, because whenever like a named character dies, it's always done in quite a heroic way. Like
Yeah.
the guy at the end who, you know, blows himself up with the nuke is like one man's last standing. The bugs just
There's
Everyone-
also
yeah.
the one of the deaths that I noticed, like one of the first ones we see is the girl that deserts at the start. It's like when
Yeah.
they're facing that first battle, and she's like, no, we can't do this, we've got to get out, and she immediately like trips up, falls down into a ditch, and gets got. And it's like immediate punishment for deserting. It felt very
Yeah.
World War One and Two.
was she the same character that in the shower scene that wants to have babies?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
probably
it's the same girl. Yeah, it's the
character.
baby's girl. Yeah.
You know, I think some of the most bizarre deaths relate to Lieutenant Ratzak. Is that
How
his
do you
name?
remember
Yeah.
any of these? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the
yeah,
teacher
sure,
from the
Jamie.
beginning who
Yeah.
was definitely false flagging the asteroid. That guy.
Yeah.
So there are two deaths relating to him, and one of them is his that I find very, very odd. The first one is when they drop down into Planet P, and like both Rico and the lieutenant notice like weird activity up on the rocks.
You keep saying all of these names of places.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, sure, yeah. They
Some people pay attention when they watch films, man.
I made a lot of
Yeah,
notes.
like Mikey, you do realise that some of these names that I slip in are pure bullshit. I'm just seeing if you pick up on
I
it.
would not be surprised. Why I'm calling you out generally. So I don't
You're
have
not
to
picking
do
up
it
on Captain
specifically.
Rucksack.
Yeah, but like they see this movement up on the rocks, and it's clear that there's bugs lurking around up there. And then they're having trouble like getting communications with the fleet and stuff. So he calls to his sergeant and goes, "Sergeant, we need better communications. Fuck off up on those rocks and see if you can get some signal." So
Yeah.
you've just seen there are a load of bugs up there, and
Yeah.
you didn't even warn the guy. So like the sergeant goes toddling off up to these rocks, immediately gets impaled by a bug,
that can
and then
fly.
flown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
he shoots him to put him out of his misery.
Yeah, and that kind of sets up his own death slightly later on, where he gets his legs chewed off. And
And
the reason
Rico
I
has to
find
shoot
this,
him.
this so weird is that clearly it's a callback, and you know, like Rico had agreed that he would shoot the guy if he was being like chewed on by bugs or whatever. But he's previously lost an arm, so
Mhm.
you know he can deal with losing limbs, and he gets his legs nibbled off right in front of the evacuation shuttle.
Yeah.
Like it had landed, and the door was open behind him when the floor drops out and his legs get chewed off.
But
Why didn't
could
they just
he?
drag him
Would
out?
they have been able to get him out of the gaping maws of the bug and into the?
Yeah, he was free at that point.
Was
They'd
he
already pulled
free?
him out.
Yeah. No, his legs had been taken completely.
Yeah, they
But
just
he
pulled
was
him up
free.
onto the edge of the crater, and then he kind of like waggled his stumps at the camera to show
Maybe
that,
losing
oh, no,
one
no,
limb was enough for him mentally.
Yeah, honestly, he looked like he looked and behaved like he'd been through a lot.
Mm.
Which, kind of implies that they've been at this war for a very long time.
Yeah, he was needed to die so that Johnny could become lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
because Johnny becomes the sergeant because of the sergeant being killed by the bugs,
Yes.
and then so he's like rising through the ranks because of people being horrifically killed by cool bugs. My favorite cool bug murdering thing was the ones with the flamethrowers.
Oh yeah, and they
brilliant.
properly melt that
Yeah.
poor that nice sergeant lady.
Yeah,
I like the flying ones because they just sort of cut people in half.
they cut
Oh
their
yeah,
heads off
kind
with
of
their
just went
wings.
for the heads.
Yeah.
yeah.
They bomb cut in half.
And
big
it
fan of them.
took two of them being decapitated for the others to cotton on that they needed to duck.
Yeah.
Guys, I think I'm on the bugs side of this war. But I think I agree with the bugs. Generally, watching this film by the end of it, I was like, I'm on the bugs side.
I'm
I hope the
also
bugs
mostly
win.
team bug.
Yeah,
I hope the bugs win.
they do, and then they have to serve the grasshoppers for a bit.
Why did they make their brain bugs so human? I mean, I guess that's kind of the point. You're meant to feel sorry for it.
Hmm.
I think.
Well, that
I
kind
don't
of
No,
thing
definitely.
happens.
Like
That
there's that
happens
bit
a
at the
few
end where they're
times.
like, we've got a brain bug now, we're studying them, we're probing them, and it just shoves this huge biopsy
Yeah.
tool into it.
And it's hard to understand the intention of the film. Like,
Although-
are you meant to feel sorry?
Yeah.
Like, are we
Yeah.
meant to feel sorry for the bugs? Or
No, I think
So
you're supposed
do
to
we
feel disgusted at the actions of the humans.
yeah, but
So
do we
the
feel
read that
sorry
I got from that is there are a couple of times when like bugs get mangled and stuff, and they're kind of like laying dying on the floor, and the camera kind of briefly skips over their eyes, and they give them these very like human expressive eyes,
Yeah.
which are completely at odds with the armored menacing
Yeah.
exterior. And
Yeah.
the read that I got from that is it's supposed to be this propaganda film, which is all like xenophobic and like ultra violent and completely glosses over the humanity of the participants of this conflict. But if you're paying attention, you're supposed to be able to spot those hints to see that there is
Well, it's
actually
like when
humanity on both
there's
sides.
that beat between the psychic saying he's afraid or it's afraid, and them all. Then they all start cheering.
Yeah. Which I don't know if it's me again. I don't know if it's me reading into it or Neil Patrick Harris being a good actor. But there was a moment where it looked like his character felt bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was kind of I don't know if it was like a deliberate thing or if I was like, one of these people has to be.
Well, you think about it; they're
human.
still all so young. Like
Yeah.
they're making huge decisions.
Yeah, how long does this film take place across? Because I know that it's a year,
Like
it's
2 days.
it's a year between the
week and a half.
beginning and the first massive assault. Because
Yeah.
like the little intro bit is during that first assault.
Yeah.
It must be it must be awful being Neil Patrick Harris's character because you just like he has to experiment on bugs that he can feel the pain of.
The weird thing with the brain bugs as well is, are they brain bugs because they have brains and can think, or are they brain bugs because they use the Capri Sun straw hole in the top of your head to drink your brain? And do they then learn human emotions and stuff?
I think that's sort of what it was implying, was that's why they're keeping it alive for the brain bug.
I don't think the brain bug learnt human emotions from humans. I think these aliens can feel emotions. We just
Oh yeah, I mean,
humans just never bothered.
are they learning things about humans through drinking their brains through the Capri Sun straw hole?
Yeah,
I think
it's implied.
and that's
isn't
why
it?
the general was hiding and stuff, because he thinks that they can like control people while they're doing the brain sucky thing. And that did confuse me a little bit actually, because they say that the infantry was lured down onto the planet by the brain bugs by sending like an SOS message. It wasn't a fake SOS message. They very much needed the help. But the thing that confused me is the radio operator had clearly had the Capri Sun treatment, but there did not look like there was enough room in that area for a brain bug to squeeze in.
No, I thought they were going to be like small bugs that get into people's brains to control them as people.
They're big
Yeah,
boys.
Yeah.
I thought
Spoiler
those
for Star
like,
Trek.
right at the very end when Carmen and Xander get captured, there are those little cockroach-looking things that are crawling
Yeah,
around.
the little babies that they sort of
Yeah.
show very much in the same way. Like we have that. There's that clip. It reminded me of those kids in the "Do You Want to Know More" section,
Yeah.
where it's those the boys and girls stomping on cockroaches.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I
like, here,
thought they
kids,
were going
look
to be
at
the
these.
brain-eaty ones.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna.
Yeah, like
Eat
get
humans.
into their brains and control them as people with bugs in their brains, like little like mech suits.
I'm trying to imagine the big bug brain getting into that relatively small room now.
Yeah.
Because it
Light
have to
speeds.
really
Have to go on a diet.
Yeah.
Just gets wedged in the door.
Admittedly, we didn't see how long that straw went.
No.
We
True.
never saw
Oh,
how long
God.
that straw can be.
It's like one of them Scooby Doo bendy straws.
Yeah. It crinkles when it extends.
Oh, I hate it.
Well,
It's
at
actually
least
got a very small brain. It's just all wrapped inside his body.
Yeah.
Just infinitely long.
at least they're more environmentally friendly than plastic straws. So...
That's true. You get bug brain straw.
Yeah.
Biodegrade.
If you go to a McDonald's, you get your drink. There's a bug brain straw in it. It goes a bit soft after a while when you're only halfway through your Coke.
Keeps trying to eat your brain. It sucks back. That's the terrifying bit. Yeah, no, the brain bugs were genuinely just terrifying, and then felt very sorry for them.
Yeah.
But full Team Bug. I want a T-shirt that says I'm Team Bug.
A Team Bug T-shirt.
Like, I don't know how you can get to the end of Starship Troopers and not be Team Bug.
No.
They're the ones being invaded.
Yeah, exactly. They're just defending themselves against this oppressive force. Like
They're just
Yeah.
better.
And
at it.
and the Mormons.
yeah.
The Mormons. To be fair, if you're given
That
the
alone.
option,
Yeah.
You're given the option, like, yeah, no, to be fair, they did more for the Earth than anyone else that day.
To be fair, do you think the Mormons got to that planet by knocking on the door and saying, "Can we talk to you
Can we-
about Jesus?"
Yeah, the two and because I've seen two. I know I've seen two, and I think I've seen three, but I saw them again. My friend really fucking loved these films.
Are there boobs in the other ones?
Probably. Also, very upset there's no dick. It's a weird thing that it kind of promises. It's a weird scene because it's very like it's
You
nudity.
see bum? You see boy bum?
Yeah. No, it's just like it's a weird level of nudity where they were like they clearly can't do any more.
I think
That
that's
was
just
like
very 90s nudity, though, isn't it? You can get
Yeah,
away
it's
with much more than that.
probably for
Yeah.
the ratings again. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, if the director and the cinematographer were also naked, I can't imagine they cared about what they were filming. Like, they were only careful after.
Yeah, maybe it had to be zoomed in and edited out. Maybe someone's job was to like double check that there weren't any lone willies flying about in the background.
It's just someone was on set as the dong director, just to make sure that everything was at a tasteful angle.
Tuck that in for me,
dog
please.
catcher, the dong catcher.
Release the dick cut or circumcision, as it's called.
But I don't know if 2 and 3 is more like propaganda-y like this, or if it's like an actual story.
So my hunch that I would have is that where these were direct to DVD, because I think they came out after VHS stopped being a thing.
Yeah.
I suspect they leaned like all in on the cheesy B movie action,
Yeah.
and probably dropped all of the satire completely and just completely endorsed it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
they
I-
did
Yeah,
I'd,
it's not the same director, is it?
No.
No.
I'd have loved to have seen one of the sequels be like an actual story about the whole propaganda side and do all of the whole maybe it's all just fake and these bugs are just defending themselves.
I think that's what's
I
so
do like that.
interesting.
If
that
someone
this
signs
movie
up
does-
from Buenos Aires and they're like,
Yeah.
but how are you? And they're like, well, no, it's still there.
Which
I
is
mean,
like,
that's like that Black Mirror episode, isn't it? With the army dudes and they've got the
Yeah, they've got the glasses
The
and they've been trained to
glasses
see
that-
them as
yeah.
like
they
monsters.
see
or
them as
something.
just bugs and monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're not. They're
people.
just different people.
All the bugs in this are actually two people in a bug suit, like a pantomime horse.
Actually,
Mm.
it's actually just some guys.
Yeah.
being-
Yeah,
bug-
well, you'll never believe it, but the original book was a really heavy-handed political allegory, and you won't believe what the bug stood in for.
It was radiation. Nuclear bomb?
Communism.
Communism,
He was
oh.
worried about the Chinese, and
It was-
that is apparently what the bugs are.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I was so surprised.
No, I'm still Team Bug.
Yeah, Team Bug.
I'm still Team Bug. I just want them to win. I want them to be happy. I want the bugs to be happy, and I want Violin Dude to be happy. Couldn't care about anyone else.
Violin dude riding on top of one of the bugs, just
Perfect.
chilling, having
Playing
the best time, playing the violin. One of the
Yeah.
bugs on the drums, I guess.
Just give him one of the flying bugs, and that's basically a Valkyrie.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
great. I want them to prosper. I want him and the bugs to prosper.
I mean, apart from the weird plot armor, I did really like Carmen's character.
Yeah, I
Of
like
being
like
like
all the
a
characters in
really
this were good.
determined like woman that's going to be a pilot and
Yeah,
she's gonna do it, and she doesn't want her boyfriend standing in her way, but she doesn't want to like string him along either.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah, I don't know. I found Carmen to be like, we're told very frequently that she's very intelligent, but she kind of
Yeah,
seemed just as
she
shallow
is.
and vapid as Rico was, at least to me.
I mean, yeah, but they're still all she's very, very clever and talented for a teenager.
yeah. This film's weird because the world is like they treat women and men pretty much the same in the film. In the book, it's not. But the way she's presented it is very like she doesn't have that 3D of a character. Like none of them do. But at least Rico kind of has like actual motivations. Her motivations are kind of dependent on him.
I don't know. I thought it
I'd
was
say
the
the
other way
opposite.
around.
Yeah, like Rico's motivation is, I'm going to enlist in the Vietnam War because my girlfriend is.
No, but like, but that's like the first 45 minutes of the film. I'm talking like the majority after his home is destroyed. After there's a bombing. on
Her
Earth,
priorities do change, I think, when she realizes that it's she's not a careerist anymore. It's not a career. Like, this is life and death. Like, this is fighting for your country in a much more sinister and serious way. And
It's very 90s way to represent characters. It's like they're very flat. For the
yeah,
most
they
part.
are all almost caricatures. Like you've got the psychic that has to make really horrible decisions and walks around in a in their, their weird black
What you mean,
trench coat.
his SS uniform?
Yeah, exactly.
That was very on the nose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they went, if you don't get
it
it.
Make me laugh when he walked into the room for the first time in that uniform.
Yeah. It's a surprise when people don't understand the propaganda satire when one of the very first scenes is we should give kids guns. Like, literally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They give the assault rifles to the kids, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just like handing out loose live ammunition.
Yeah.
Life is so cheap in this universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the film itself, all the characters are just like happily cheering this along like it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
So I guess we should start wrapping this up.
Out of 10,
out of 10, how many good dead bugs?
No, they're great boys. They don't deserve to be dead.
You want a pet brain bug, don't you?
No, I don't want a pet brain bug. I want them to live free and happy, and I want them to prosper because it's clear that they have emotions and are sentient.
Mikey wants an independent and co-equal brain bug.
I do. I want a brain bug buddy who lives his own life, goes his own way.
Would you let him eat your
also
brain when you were
understands
dying?
personal boundaries so they know not to capture some people.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
I'd work out if there was another way for him to eat. I would help him work that out to live and eat fully. But
I got the
you want a
impression that
vegan
was
brain bug.
Optional.
not necessarily vegan. Yeah, maybe the brain stuff is optional.
I was going to say, there's not really any evidence of what these bugs eat.
I'd never send him to a school though. That would be dangerous.
Yeah, they'll teach him propaganda about how to fight the bugs.
All the kids might stamp on him.
Yeah.
Kids might try and stamp on him, and he's a soft soul. The brain bug is a soft soul.
He was super squishy.
He was he looked like he'd give good hugs.
He
The
looked
brain
like
bug-
a big tardigrade kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also distressingly moist, I would say.
Yeah, but that doesn't-
Glistening.
A lot of slime.
I'll bring a towel. My boy looks like he gives good hugs, if a little damp. We all have our problems, Jamie. We're not all perfect like you. Some of us are a bit damper than we'd like to be. I genuinely think I'll give it like a 7 friendly brain bugs out of 10. I really like this film. I liked it. It's good action and it's got a good message. That was a weird sentence. No, it's got I like the propaganda of it. I really like propaganda, guys. I like understanding and learning propaganda. 7 out of 10.
I mean, I really enjoyed this. I'm probably going to give this a 9 out of 10. So, I guess self-sacrifices or no, decapitations by flying bugs.
The coolest bug.
Yeah, the coolest ones. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked I liked on the surface it just being a dumb fun action movie. I did like all the characters and I liked the sort of the layers of propaganda and shit. And I would like to know more.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I want to learn more about the universe of this director's and this writer's world, not the book. I don't want to read the book. I want someone to write the book of this film and have it like an interesting anti-propaganda book.
Yeah.
I don't say there's a lot of fan fiction.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And I don't
Doesn't
mean
mean
like
I want to read it.
like slash fiction.
Yeah.
I mean there's probably a lot of that too.
Yeah, brain bugs going into the holes, yeah.
So many licked nipples in the fanfiction.
Oh my god, yeah, that.
It's a lot of nudity, but only from
Yeah.
the waist up.
For the record, for the people who aren't going to watch this, haven't watched this in a while. Like it's not him licking her nipple, which I think is sort of not like she goes in for his.
Yeah,
full on goes to town.
Not the way you'd expect.
And it's like one of the few sort of sex acts you see.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite strange that it's girl on boy nip.
Yeah. So Helena, how many nip licks would you give this?
No.
I feel like that's a negative sort of. I would give this. I'd say I'd give it 9. Would you like to know more clips out of 10?
You didn't even get to that.
I really enjoyed the complicated tone of this film, of it having that surface level action, but that actually, no, wait, what are you watching? Think about this for a second, please. Mm-hmm. That it does make you do. And I sort of wish I'd seen it when I was a kid so I could compare how my attitude to what they'd done and what the decision these kids make now, because obviously pre-18 was an adult. Now that I'm a bit older than that, I'm like, no, why did people let me, out? I'm glad that there wasn't a war and I didn't have to join an army because, Christ, I might have joined up as well and killed some bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd definitely be dead.
Oh, yeah, we'd all be dead.
You guys might be. I might not have legally been allowed to join. That's depressing.
Yep.
Ben.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be allowed to.
Yeah, no, it depends on the universe, but yeah, we may be illegal for us to join.
The UK, it's fine, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not a federation. Anyway, Ben, out of 10.
I'd probably give it 8 out of 10 Clandestine Drops, just because that soundtrack slaps. So
yeah, the soundtrack was.
Yeah.
Apart from the electric violin.
Yeah.
How dare
Oh no,
you.
that was the best
Very
bit.
deep fried.
Jamie, out of 10, how many soft alien hugs do you want?
I think I would probably give it 7 nibbled off legs overall, and I'm giving it that score because, as has been said previously, it has layers to it, like an ogre. And I think it's nice that you can engage with the film on several different levels. You can just kind of zone out and watch it as a incredibly dumb sci-fi action flick, or you can look a little bit deeper and see this effectively dystopia that no one in the film seems to recognize as such. And I think in that way it's good to look at those kind of dystopias and realize you can be inside a story and miss the signs of things that are all around you, and that's the kind of message that kind of maps out into the real world as well.
Yep, that's the point of propaganda.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a dark film.
Yeah.
Oh, it's real dark. Yeah.
But
it doesn't look like it's dark, which
No.
is the thing.
No, it's
you
shiny on the
brightly lit.
surface. Yeah, like a brain bug.
Like
Shiny
a-
on the
Just
surface.
a final note to make it even darker. I mean, if they didn't die during that, surely they're going to die from all the radiation.
Oh,
What?
the nuclear.
Yeah, 'cause
Oh,
they set
yeah.
up nukes like they're blimmin' frag grenades. They're just everywhere.
It's true. Radiation, I don't think will affect the bugs. Like a
Doesn't
lot of
affect cockroaches, does it?
yeah, like a lot of bugs are. It's just the people.
Yeah, it's just the soft fleshy bits that it helps
It's all
destroy.
very people.
Yeah.
And oh no, the brain bugs.
Yeah.
But they're such good huggers.
Well, with that, I have been Dan.
I have been Michael.
I've been Helena.
I've been Ben.
And I've been Jamie.
You can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well. Everything will be in the link tree in the show notes. Leave us a review. That would be nice. Let us know how many brain bugs you would want to be hugged by.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
review on Spotify now.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
can you?
if you would like to, that would be lovely.
that would help
Yeah.
us out. Yeah.
And let us know on Twitter if you have seen any of the other Starship Troopers and if they are any good.
Or just shitpost in the Discord.
Or just ship us in the Discord.
Would you like to know more? Okay.
Oh, I tell you what, I couldn't watch the other day. Juno,
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got, like,
seen
20
that
minutes in.
ages. Yeah.
and we were like, nah, can't.
I've never seen you.
I watched that on a plane because I'd watched everything else.
Fucking hell, where were you going?